Right now, a child is staring at you. They aren't blinking, nor are they looking away. They simply have their gaze fixed so intently on your face that even adults begin to feel a bit uncomfortable. Most people brush it off jokingly, perhaps waving back, or maybe making a funny sound, in the hope that something will happen. But for the past 2 decades, developmental neuroscientists have been trying to understand exactly what is going on inside that little mind during those long, unblinking stares. And what they discovered not only changes your perspective on children, but it also transforms the way you understand consciousness itself. Let's start with the most common theory. Children stare because their eyesight is poor. And among all the things around them, faces are what they find most interesting. This sounds plausible enough. Newborns' visual acuity is indeed limited, spanning a range of about 8 to 12 inches. This is roughly the distance between your hands and your face when you hold them in your arms. However, there is a flaw in this theory. By the time they reach 3 months of age, children's eyesight has improved to the point where they can see almost everything in a room. The ceiling, the window, the dog, or a pile of clothes in the corner, yet every single time, without exception, they choose to focus on your face. This isn't due to poor eyesight. It is their own choice. And when researchers began to dig deeper to uncover the reason behind this, they found something in the data that no one had ever expected. In 2017, a team from Cambridge University published a highly significant study in the journal PNAS regarding brainwave synchronization between 2 individuals. PNAS is, notably, one of the most prestigious scientific publications on Earth. They measured neural activity in both children and adults during face-to-face interactions using a technique known as functional near-infrared spectroscopy. What they were looking for was brainwave synchronization. What they discovered completely astonished the field. When a child looks you directly in the eye, when that eye contact is established, their brainwaves begin to synchronize with yours. The exact same frequencies, the exact same rhythms become active simultaneously within 2 distinct minds. They tested this scenario with an adult who was looking away. There was no synchronization. They tested it with a neutral facial expression, which yielded only a slight degree of synchronization. However, when both individuals looked directly into each other's eyes, establishing eye contact, it generated the strongest neural coupling that researchers had ever recorded between 2 individuals of different ages. Your child is not merely looking at you, they are linking their developing mind with yours. They are utilizing your neural activity as a kind of scaffold, a template, upon which to construct their own mind. This very act of making eye contact is the mechanism through which human minds teach other human minds what it means to be human. But the story gets even stranger here, for children do not gaze at everyone in the exact same way. Researchers at Harvard Medical School conducted a very simple experiment. They showed 3-month-old infants 2 faces, the face of a stranger and the face of their primary caregiver. The babies gazed at the stranger for a longer time, something that, until you understand the reason why, seems counterintuitive. Cognitive scientists call this the violation of expectation response. Babies stare longer at things they do not yet fully comprehend. The stranger is a puzzle, novel and unprocessed. But regarding the caregiver's face, by the age of 3 months, an infant has already logged thousands of hours processing that specific face. Every expression, every micro movement, every shift in tone. When they look at you, they aren't confused. They are reading you. Researchers at the University of Washington have found that by 5 months of age, babies can distinguish between genuine and fake smiles. By 6 months, they track your emotional state and use it to determine how to respond to the world around them, a process developmental psychologists call social referencing. If you look frightened, they freeze. If you look excited, they reach out toward the object of your interest. If you look calm, they tentatively explore it. That long, unblinking gaze is, in reality, data collection. Your baby is constructing a real-time emotional map of your face, using it to refine their understanding of what is safe and what is dangerous. You are not merely their parent, you are the external hard drive for their nervous system. The Harvard Still Face Experiment. Now, I would like to tell you about an experiment that was considered so disturbing that it sparked ethical debates within the field of developmental psychology for years. It is known as the still face paradigm. It was designed in 1975 by Dr. Edward Tronick at Harvard. Its setup is quite simple. A mother interacts with her infant in a completely normal manner, smiling, talking, and responding. The infant is happy, fully engaged, and gazing at the mother's face with intense concentration. Then, on cue, the mother's face becomes completely expressionless. Her face is utterly still. No expressions, no reactions. Her eyes are open, but devoid of any emotion. What unfolds during the subsequent 2 minutes constitutes one of the most studied phenomena in the field of developmental psychology. The infant notices immediately. They attempt to re-engage her, flashing big smiles, making gestures, and vocalizing. All the behaviors that typically work. Nothing happens. They try even harder. Bigger gestures, louder vocalizations. Still nothing. Within 90 seconds, most infants exhibit physiological signs of stress. Cortisol levels spike, heart rates accelerate. Some begin to cry, while others go completely still, entering a state of emotional shutdown, a mirroring of the very emptiness they perceive in their mother, until she finally reconnects with the child. The recovery process is rapid, though not instantaneous. After conducting this study for 2 decades, Dr. Tronick drew the following conclusions. Infants are not merely passive recipients of care. They are actively engaged in a continuous emotional dialogue, and this dialogue takes place almost entirely through facial expressions. This intense gaze is not an act of admiration, nor is it confusion. It is, in fact, the most fundamental form of communication. Your child is communicating with you through their eyes, and they need you to communicate back. There is another layer to what your child is actually creating, one that is rarely discussed outside of academic circles. And this involves what children are actually building, beyond mere emotional attunement, during those moments of mutual gazing. Researchers at MIT's Department of Brain and Cognitive Sciences have spent years studying visual processing in infants, and they have made a discovery that fundamentally alters everything we thought we knew about how intelligence develops. Infants who experience a higher degree of contingent face-to-face interaction during their first 6 months, meaning interactions where their cues are attended to and responded to, show significantly greater development in the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain responsible for planning, decision-making, emotional regulation, and complex social behaviors. The very architecture of adult cognition. Someone gazing at you and you gazing back at them is in fact wiring the very hardware that will power your child's brain for the rest of their life. Every time you make eye contact with them, every time you mimic their expressions, every time you respond to what you see, a reduction in or complete absence of eye-gazing behavior during infancy is one of the earliest recognizable signs that researchers associate with atypical social development. This does not necessarily mean that something is wrong. Every child develops according to their own timeline. However, child neuroscientists are unequivocal on this point. Early identification changes outcomes. Early identification changes results. The brain's plasticity, its capacity for change and adaptation, is never greater than it is during the first 2 years of life. An intervention undertaken at 6 months of age yields results that simply cannot be matched by an intervention performed at 2 years of age. Therefore, if you ever notice something unusual regarding a child's gaze, or lack thereof, trust your instincts. You are, quite possibly, the most accurate instrument in the world for reading your own child's face, for you have been doing so since the moment they were born, from that very first hour of life. So, the next time a child catches your eye from across the room and simply stares back at you, remember what is actually taking place. Their brain is attempting to connect with yours. They are using your face as a guide to learn what it means to be human, how to feel, how to distinguish between what is safe and what is not, and how to navigate a world populated by other human beings. 15,000 years of evolution did not bestow upon children those large, round, adorable eyes by mere accident. These eyes constitute the most sophisticated social interface ever created. And when a child's gaze locks onto yours, the only appropriate response is to stare right back. If this has shifted your perspective on how you view children in your life, please subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below. I would love to know, was there ever a moment when a child's intense stare gave you pause? Because if that has happened to you, you now understand what was truly going on beneath the surface. Has there ever been a moment when a child's gaze stopped you in your tracks?